Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today, Simplify Microsoft Windows Server Management with Amazon Lightsail. Our presenters today are Emily Kruger and Gabriel Goslin. Emily is a Senior Product Manager with Amazon Lightsail, and Gabe is a Web Development Engineer with Amazon Lightsail. We're excited to get started and we'll do so momentarily, but first we have a couple of housekeeping reminders. At the completion of today's presentation, we will have some time for live Q&A, so make sure to submit any questions you have for our presenters and our moderators at any time so we can address them while they come in, and additionally, live at the end of the presentation. Today's presentation is being recorded, so we'll send a follow-up email over the next couple of days to the email address that you registered for this webinar with, containing the links to the on-demand content, both the slide deck and the webinar recording. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Emily. Emily, welcome. The floor is now yours.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Simplify Microsoft Windows Server Management with Amazon Lightsail. My name is Emily Kruger, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for Amazon Lightsail. I'm also joined by Gabriel, who is one of our engineers, and he'll be doing our demo today. So we're very excited to talk today about our new Windows Server support on Amazon Lightsail. We launched this feature just a few weeks ago, and it allows you, as it sounds, to launch a very easy to use Windows Server inside of the Lightsail environment. So I know many of you today may not be familiar with Amazon Lightsail, so I'm going to go over what's included in a Windows Lightsail bundle that includes Windows Server, and talk a little bit in general about Lightsail overall. For those of you who are familiar with Lightsail and are using it already on Linux, bear with us, and some of it will be a little bit of a refresher. So Windows Lightsail is designed to be the easiest way to get started launching and managing servers in the cloud, in the AWS cloud. And so likewise, when we launched Windows Server support, we wanted to make Windows Server easy to use, easy to administer, and make sure that it was running your applications day to day seamlessly. So like Amazon Lightsail Linux instances, we include bundled computing power, storage, and networking, so data transfer, into your Windows Server bundle. Your Windows Server bundle also includes the Windows Server license as part of the bundle. Also like Linux, your servers come fully configured and are available for a low predictable price. So we have our monthly costs, and we'll go over that in a little bit more detail later. All of it's managed through the Lightsail Console. Like Linux, Windows Server is available worldwide in 10 different regions. And we allow you to grow over time. So you can add AWS services to your Windows Server by connecting using VPC peering, or by connecting those services over the internet. And we won't talk a lot about that today, but if that's something you're interested in doing and learning how to scale your Windows Server on Lightsail to use some other AWS services, I'd encourage you to look at past webinars that we've run, and also at our documentation. And then finally, our Windows Server instances also can be managed and created using the Lightsail CLI. So what do Lightsail plans include? As I mentioned, Lightsail plans come as a bundle of resources. And so every plan has your computing power. It has a certain amount of SSD-based block storage included. We have a very generous data transfer allowance included with every plan. And then within the Lightsail management console, or using the CLI, you're also able to do DNS management, so include your domains and create your domain records. We allow you to add a static IP address, and then again, there's this easy growth path, this opportunity to be able to start small on a very modest Windows Server instance, and then to scale that up over time as your application grows or as your needs grow. So this is our Windows Server pricing on Lightsail. So for those of you familiar with our Linux price points, these are a little higher because they include a Windows license as part of the cost. You also notice that the amount of SSD-based storage is a little bit higher than it is on our Linux-based instances. And this is because Windows is a little bit of a larger operating system. It uses more space. And so here you can see you can scale up from a very simple server that for $10 a month, and that is available for free for your first month if you're a new Lightsail customer. Those of you already using Lightsail, unfortunately, you won't get your free Windows server, but you definitely can still try it out for $10 a month. And then they scale all the way up to a $100 a month server that has 8 gigabytes of RAM and the 80 gigabytes of SSD-based storage. So, a fairly good sized server. So how can you use Windows Server for Lightsail? Like Lightsail on Linux as a whole, Windows Server for Lightsail is designed to be supporting hosting for your websites and web applications and simple software. So here we especially had .NET developers in mind when we were launching Windows Server support. We think this is a great environment both to do testing and also to do production workloads for your .NET applications. Of course, you can also run applications built on other programming languages as well. You can also run a simple remote desktop using Windows Server on Lightsail. And we do this using the Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP. And this is something that we'll cover in a little more detail in a few slides. And also you'll see it in Gabriel's demo. As mentioned, you're able to do testing and development. You can also run various Windows-specific software. So we have a few examples here. SQL Server. You can run a small Exchange server, SharePoint server, et cetera, using Windows servers or Lightsail, or any other range of Windows-based software. So we today have 3 different pre-configured Windows Server options that are available on Lightsail. And so again, when you see the demo, you'll see how this works and how you can select each of these. But we have 2 versions of Windows Server, 2016 and also 2012 R2 available. And these are like our Linux operating systems. You select it within the create process, and a few clicks later, you have a fully configured server up and running and ready for you to use. We also have one, what we call application, our Windows-based application. So this is a Windows Server 2016 instance that has SQL Server Express installed on it. And so it's the sort of free, lightweight version of SQL that Microsoft provides. It gives you an opportunity to get a lightweight database up and running. So once you've launched your instance, you can do that in a couple of clicks, we make it very easy for you to manage Windows Server day to day. And that was really one of our biggest goals as we were thinking about this release. We wanted this to be something that you can get a Windows Server up and running, and then you don't really have to worry about it, the complexities of the configuration and administration of that server. So once you've launched your instance, you're able to do sort of all the basic controls in your server: start, stop, reboot, delete. You're also able to access your Windows Server with just one click using RDP. We'll talk about that just in a little bit more detail on the next slide. Like Linux, you're also able to view metrics about your server from within the console. You can attach a static IP so that you have a fixed IP address associated with your server. You can create DNS records, and you can take snapshots. So snapshots are an easy way to be able to back up your Windows Server, and you're also able to resize your Windows Server. So if you start off on, say, that $10 free plan just to try it out, like it, but realize you need a more powerful server to run your Windows environment, you can take a snapshot and then create a new server new instance from snapshot on a larger size. So one of the features we're really excited about with the Windows Server release was our RDP Access. So you're going to get to see this live and in action in just a few minutes here when I hand this off to Gabriel. But we have the ability to, with one click, launch access into what looks like basically a Windows desktop environment. It says so it's access to your Windows server directly through a visual interface. And here you're able to access all sorts of Windows services like PowerShell, and you're able to work on configurations for your server in this visual environment. When we were designing this feature, we wanted to make it really easy for you to just get up and running with RDP. And so if you, when you launch your Windows instance, we provide a secure password that is encrypted, and we are able to, if you don't change that password, we'll continue to store that password on your behalf and allow you to click in seamlessly to RDP, passing your login credentials. So that was something we were extremely excited about, being able to just make it easy for you to access your Windows server with really no friction. If you want to, you're also able to change your password. We won't store it for you in that case, it's yours. So you'll just need to log in each time to your Windows server using your administrative name and password. So again, Gabriel's going to show you this next, and we think you'll really be excited by this feature as well. So Gabriel's going to tell you now a little bit about Windows Server and let you see it in action.
Thanks, Emily. My name is Gabriel Goslin, and I actually work on the Lightsail development team. I'm going to show you what we've built for you. So as you can see, here is the homepage of the Lightsail console. And I already got some Windows instances running, but I'm going to show you how in a few minutes you can create your own instance. As you can see, we can launch Windows instances in any of the regions that are available on Lightsail, but I'm going to stick with Ohio since it's the latest and greatest. Here you now have the option of choosing Linux, which is what all of our instances were previously, but we now have Windows as a platform option. Given that it is Windows, there are additional licensing fees, and you have two versions of Windows to choose from, 2016 and Windows Server 2012 R2. If you want to use SQL Server Express, you can find that under Apps plus OS. So we've already got SQL Server Express pre-configured for you. Please note that SQL Server Express does have some additional system requirements, which is why we've blocked off these two smaller instance types. It just won't run very well for you. So I'm going to go back and choose a Windows 2016 server instance. And being an Amazonian, I'm frugal, and I'm going to choose the $10 instance here. Now, that'll take a few minutes to spin up, but I just wanted to show you on one of the instances that I already have going how easy it is to get connected. So as you can see, that was a one-click connect, and now I've already got a connection to this instance. What's actually happening in the background is we do store the default password for the administrator on this machine as an encrypted password. And so we actually make a call and decrypt that password to provide that when we make the RDP connection, and you don't have to remember a long cryptic password yourself. As you can see at the bottom, we have this strip with some additional keys that may not be available on all systems. So for example, if you want quick access to the Windows menu, or my favorite shortcut is the Windows key and E to bring up Windows Explorer. And you've also got the all-important Control-Alt-Delete right there, so that you can bring up your task manager. We've included some of the other keys just for convenience, but one thing that I wanted to call out while we're here is the fact that we've got this clipboard. So I'm on a Mac machine, as you might be able to see, and so I want to send a string over to my Windows instance. Now, this could be a password or anything. This is a direct connection to your Windows instance, and as soon as I close this clipboard, I'll be able to go into Notepad and paste hello Windows. So that is exactly what I typed in. If I want to say hello Lightsail users, I can Copy that, and you'll see that that now shows up in the clipboard. All right, so I think that's going to be really useful for a lot of our customers, but let's just show you some of the other stuff that Lightsail offers to Linux and Windows users alike. So right now, we've got this IP address that will change every time that you stop and start the instance. So if I want to associate a static IP address, you get up to 5 per region with your Lightsail instances. So I can go over to the networking tab and say create static IP. So it's already hooked it up to this Ohio 3 server that I've got there. And let's say, let's call this my Lightsail demo static IP. So the advantages I was saying of the static IP is that it will not change even if you stop the instance. And the main reason that we would do that is so that when you go and set up DNS records, you can actually go and choose that static IP. I'm going to go into my lightsaildemo.com DNS, and I'm going to add a record. So I want to add the Windows subdomain, and I can just choose the Lightsail demo static IP that I previously created. So we've got a static IP, we've got a subdomain pointing to that Windows instance. Now note that by default, Windows IIS is not installed on Windows instances because that's just an additional configuration that some users may choose to make. We're not assuming that all the Windows servers need to be connected to the internet right off the bat. But the other thing that you will need to do is potentially take a snapshot of your instance. So the way that you would do that is in your instance management, we've seen networking there for the static IP. Under snapshots, you can see that I don't have a snapshot. Now, one thing about Windows instances in particular is because of that default password that we create and store individually per instance, there'll be a few steps that you need to follow here. And you'll see it's a few steps. And essentially what that does is create a new unique password for the instance when it gets generated. And it also ensures that you'll still get that good one-click experience from Lightsail and still be able to connect with one click to RDP. You'll also have to stop the instance while you are snapshotting it. I created a snapshot in advance, so I just want to show you what it looks like to actually create a new instance. So as you can see, I've got a list of snapshots. I only have the one. I'm going to create a new instance from that, and it has to be in the same region, but you can change availability zone if, for example, you wanted to have some redundancy across our different data centers. You won't be able to change most of the configurations, but you can actually add a PowerShell script that you want to run at launch. Now, I worked on a project, demoed it, and now decided that I want to have a slightly larger instance type. From a snapshot, it's as easy as choosing a new bundle size, and that's all I need to scale up the size and power of my Windows instance. Please note that once you've created a larger instance size, you won't be able to scale back down to a smaller one, and that is just because we can't take a disk snapshot and put it into a smaller disk size. So that is one limitation with snapshots, but we think that it serves our customers well. So if I wanted to create this instance, I just click the create button, and you can see that it's very similar to the previous instance create screen. So that's it. As you can see, it's really easy to get started with a Windows instance on Lightsail. In a few minutes, you can actually have something up and running that you can start configuring for whatever application you want to install. I'm going to hand this back over to Emily. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Gabriel. That was awesome. So we're coming to the end of our presentation. I wanted to give you a few resources so that you can learn more about Windows Server and Lightsail. We really just kind of scratched the surface, gave you a broad overview today. But we have a lot of great documentation that is available through Lightsail Console on our docs pages about how to use Windows Server with Lightsail, how to optimize it, etc. So if you're about to launch a Windows Server and you want to get started, first article here, great resource. We also have some special tips around securing and configuring your Windows Server, particularly if you wanted to be using PowerShell or some other type of scripts to make configuration easier and or specialized for your Windows instance. So obviously, you're not going to memorize these URLs. When this webinar is over, we'll be sending out a copy of the recording. Fast forward to this slide, and you can copy down the URL from there. Or you can log into Lightsail Console and search for Windows in the docs. All of these resources and others will show up. So with that brings us to the end of our slides. Thank you very much for being with us today. We're going to be doing a live Q&A. So if you have some questions, I'd encourage you to type them right now into the chat box. We'll also address a handful of questions that we think are really good ones that have been coming throughout the course of this webinar.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Gabe, for a great presentation and a very thorough demo as well. As mentioned, we'll transition over to the live Q&A portion of the presentation now. When you see a couple of polls appearing on your screen, please give us some feedback. Additionally, if you have any feedback for us, you can always drop us a line at aws-webcasts@amazon.com. That's aws-webcasts@amazon.com.